my man, Randy Jackson. What is good, man?
What's going on, man? How are you in these crazy times, bro?
Oh man, listen. It's a lot. It's a lot, right?
Definitely a lot. Definitely a lot.
And look, I gotta say, man, what's really dope about this conversation and having you involved, DHANI, and the doctor as well as, like I was saying earlier, like a lot of people aren't having these conversations, and to have individuals like you who can come forward and say, hey, look, this is real shit that we're dealing with, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. And because I think that when people start to think about mental health and what mental health is, people automatically go to things like schizophrenia, and it's not, right? Mental
Am I
health is like,
insane or yeah.
right, it's loneliness and so on and so forth. And clearly, usually when I start these, I say, well, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do. You do a lot, and a lot of people know you for a lot of different things. Do you want to even just, what you're appreciative of being known for, I'll say?
First and foremost, as a father.
Okay.
Second and foremost, as a lovely, proud black man from Louisiana.
Okay. Hey.
And thirdly, as someone that has gone through a lot in life and that's really willing and really trying to pay it forward.
Yeah.
And maybe share some wisdom with those that may have not gone through those things or trying to jump some hurdles. So that's why I started my brand Unify Health Labs with the vitamins and the minerals and all of those things. And that's why, you know, I do a lot of philanthropy and I do a lot and everything I can to give back.
That's what's up, man. Listen, let me ask you this, because I think visually a lot of people can see that you have gone through a lot yourself, right? So you're well known for your weight loss, right? And the journey along the way, which has inspired, you know, tons of people, me as well. A key part of that I actually learned was including psychiatrists, right, as part of your care team, right? So can you tell us like why that was so important?
Well, you know, listen, gut, I say, is the new health and wealth.
Yeah.
If your gut is in check, that's why we got our multi-formula G5. But here's the thing. In order to change behavioral patterns, you got to change your mindset. You are what you think. Your positive thoughts inform what you do. It starts with the mind. It really, really does, because people get down and all they can think about is just being down and the thoughts of being down. I'll never make it up. They defeat themselves with their thoughts. Yeah. So they call it behavioral modification psychology in order to change the mindset. If I need you to stop eating so much or stop eating sweets or whatever, I have to change the way you think about it. So if I can change the way you think about it, we got a flying chance of making it work. But if I'm not changing the way you look at it, because remember, everybody, we all started, you hear the song, we started from the bottom, now we're here. Yeah. So a lot of us started poor. So in order to get out of that, you have to have a mindset like, this will not become me. This is not me. I can make it. I can do better. I can learn. I can grow. Let me start one brick at a time on the way out of here. Yeah. So those positive affirmations and really just trying to really enhance people's own natural ability to think outside and beyond the box that they may currently or presently be in.
Right. The mind is a powerful tool, man.
It starts with that.
Yeah, indeed. So speaking of that, then, how did your mental health status impact your weight loss or weight gain and loss?
You know, I tell this funny story. When I first started Idol, I think I was my heaviest ever in my life. I think it was 358.
Okay.
I mean, now you go like, what? No, but I was 358. I was my unhealthiest. And people would come in and, you know, Kyle and I would take shots at people. Oh my God, what are you doing here? And one thing that we always say, if you're going to dish it, you better be able to take it back. So people walk in and get mad at me like, dog, well, you're fat. I go like, yeah, I got mirrors in my house. I know that. So one thing is acknowledging the problem. The second thing is, what am I going to do about it? And you got to get to the point that you really want to do something about it. So you're able to change your mindset, do whatever it takes to listen. I'm not living that life anymore. I want a different life. I want to be healthier. I want to be better. I got to help myself first with my mindset.
That's interesting, man. So what advice then would you actually give to other Black Americans who are struggling with the mental stressors of life, right? And then turn to food for comfort?
Well, that's what you hit it on the head. Food is comfort.
Yeah.
I'm sad. I'm happy. I'm lonely. I'm depressed. I turn to food I can eat because it's things that I can control.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, what you really have to do is decide, today, I want to make a change. You have to change your mindset and get to some positive way of thinking, because just say, look, I know I want to eat them 6 donuts, but they ain't going to do much for me. It's not going to help me. I'm going to feel terrible. I may develop diabetes. There's a lot of bad things that can come from that.
Mm-hmm.
I may satiate myself now, because remember, one of the great keys in life is moderation is the key. Too much of anything is bad. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
Too much exercise, too much sex, too much working out,
Yeah.
too much food, too much candy, too much cake, too much anything is bad.
Yeah.
So I think you really have to get yourself into a mind frame that I'm willing to make a change. Then reach out to healthcare providers or anybody you can. Sometimes your church members, your clergy members can say, listen, I'm ready to make a change. How do I bring more positive reinforcement into my life to help me on this journey, one step at a time?
Right.
Everybody wants to make these giant leaps. That's not the way it works. One step at a time. Even in the Bible, they say, you make the first step, I'll make the second one.
Yeah.
So one step at a time. And start charting your progress and make sure you're consistent and go slow. But a positive mind will lead you to much better outcome.
Interesting. And we're clearly building here, but I'd like to also ask, like, why do you think that so many Black Americans are actually struggling with weight issues?
Listen, I grew up in a lovable, dirty South, and I love it to death. I love all that food.
Where
Listen,
was that?
in Louisiana, man,
Louisiana, okay.
everything is fried.
Okay.
Everything's in a ton of butter, lard, sugar on the vegetables. I mean, as they say, it must taste good or else you won't eat it. So I got to do whatever I got to do to make it taste good to you.
Yeah.
So listen, I can't eat that way anymore. I grew up eating that way. I had no limits. I knew no limits. I was eating 1,000 desserts. I mean, listen, I can't eat like that. No one can eat like that forever.
Yeah.
So that's why when you go to the South, to Louisiana, they say, listen, forget your diet. We don't believe in diets here. Hard to find fresh veggies. I mean, it's gotten better now, but it's a different world. You know, we as people, food is one of the things that we love. You know, people don't understand how barbecue started. Barbecue was the thrown out scraps of meats that the people would throw out.
Yeah.
People started barbecuing to make it taste better and throwing some sauce on it because it was scraps of meat.
Yep.
So we've heralded what we can control. Back then, we could control the food intake.
Yeah.
So that's where it all started. I mean, I think now, you know, science, everything's caught up with us and say, look, you're going to develop all of these healthy habits or you're going to develop all these diseases. Yeah. So now we're having to change it up. So, you know, and it's hard to make that change because, you know, you grew up eating like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You probably grew up eating like that in the Midwest. Come on, dog. You know you did. Look. You had the hog maw. Come on, the pork chops, big old pork chops. Come on, dog.
Look, man, they don't call it Louisiana fried chicken for no reason, right?
You got that peach cobbler. I see it sitting right there right now. Look at you.
Good. This is true, man. It's hard, but let me. So I wanted to kind of start there because I thought that, you know, when we talk about mental health, like that weight loss and what you had been through, there is a toll on your mental, you know, on yourself, right? And there's this, which is why you worked with psychiatrists all the way through. I want to pivot for a second. Now, beginning the conversation, you asked, "How are you?" And I said, "Well, you know, I'm okay." We are dealing with a lot of shit right now.
A lot.
Right? And this is why when we start to talk about mental health, this is why, like, it's right now become like we have, like, you know, we're getting shot, we're getting choked and killed on the street, we're getting, you know, Karen'd, we're getting, like, we're on quarantine, we're on, you know, we're homeschooling our children, not to mention Black women. It's on a whole nother level, right? Because they support us, and it's a lot. So what would you say your thought about, like, how is your mental state now in what you're dealing with in today?
We're in such disturbing times, man, with COVID, with the racial injustice going on in this country, in the world. We have really reached a different epic proportion time.
Yeah.
But I do believe the Sam Cooke song, "A change is gonna come." Oh, yes, it will.
Yeah.
So we've got to strive for change. This is all wrong. So yes, mental health really takes a toll because people are wondering, what do I got to do just to get some respect as a black man? What must I do? What must the country and the world endure?
Yeah.
Well, listen, the greatest thing to me is that the world has responded. They're protesting all over the world for racial and social injustice, all over the world. So the message is clear that we really have a problem. I think it's the first time in history the world has come together over this, except for the South African apartheid or feeding famine or whatever,
Yeah.
Feed America or whatever. So I think, listen, we're in a very dark times, but there's light at the end of the tunnel. We have to stay as positive as we can. We got to do everything we can to contribute, and sending those positive thoughts out to everyone is the way to go. Peacefully protest. Get
Absolutely.
out and vote. Make sure your voice is heard. I know you're thinking,
Yeah.
oh, I'm not going to vote. They're going to get the same guy anyway. All of my vote won't count. Everything you can do counts and helps.
Yeah.
And make yourself feel good that you've given back, gotten out, protested, shared on social media, become active and done something
Absolutely.
to fight the injustice.
Yeah. And let me ask you, outside of your celebrity life, can you share like how the stresses of racial injustice in these current events we're talking about have impacted your mental health outlook?
Listen, I grew up in a dirty, lovable South. I used to play bars. They would say to me, you're okay today because you're in here with this guy, but we usually don't allow black people in here. So I'm saying, I heard it all growing up. I grew up with it all, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's happened throughout our lives. I mean, when you look around, there's no, you see truth all around you. You see everything. You see that Dr. Martin Luther King had to march and fight in the 60s for this. Look at where we are now. How far have we come? We haven't come far enough, obviously.
Not far.
Because things are still going on and we're still in the streets marching, begging, hoping that just the injustice of just the color of your skin, what that's done.
Yeah.
Wow. How am I lesser than another man because of the color of my skin? I didn't even choose this. This is what God gave me. So I think you got to go through the positive affirms and dig deep and really think about your spirituality and your faith, and know that there's a way out of this. This too shall pass. We're going to get better. We're going to be stronger for it.
Yeah. It's tough, man. It's challenging because I will say that, like, people ask me how do you feel and how are you? Sometimes I don't know how to answer that question. And I feel that like I have been on a roller coaster of emotions over the past few weeks.
I get it. You're mad. You're angry. You're like, what in the hell? What do we got to do to get some justice? What has to happen?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's a lot, man. I think it's and what I love about you joining is the fact that, like, I feel people think that Black celebrities, and when you're famous, like, you don't deal with all the same problems that everyone else deals with. You won't get pulled over and all this stuff.
I say this all the time, Donnie. We put our pants on the same way as everybody else. Men, women, children, white, black, Mexican, Chinese, whatever ethnicity, we put our pants on the same way. Mm-hmm. So we just, I feel you because I've talked to a bunch of my friends. Yeah. You're hurt, you're mad, you're angry. I think, you get all the range of emotions. Yeah. But remember, it's what you do with that and how you take all of that and channel that into something positive to try and help. If we band together, stick together, and finally become one on this, I think we can win it. And that's what I'm happy to see. Everybody out protesting together peacefully. Yeah. I mean, just really, and get out to vote. You see LeBron getting on, trying to help people to vote, part of Rock the Vote. You see all these great things and people coming together. And listen, the whole world, the entire planet is protesting with us. Yeah. Wow. This is big, brother. That's the great positive. Yeah, indeed. I'm going to pivot back because I don't think a lot of people know that you started a Unified Health Labs. And some of the products that you actually designed were designed to enhance mood. Right? So can you explain maybe why that's so important? Well, I started Unified Health Labs because on my journey to try and get really healthy and try and better my life, I discovered a lot of things. So I wanted to put this team of doctors and professionals together with me to develop these vitamins and minerals and drinks to help you guys. Part of the thing is shifting your mood. If I wake up and I have something that makes me feel better about myself, my body, and I have a lighter mood and a lighter disposition, I'll get more done. And remember, if you go out into the world, typically with love and positive thoughts, that's what you spread to people.
Yeah.
You notice if you walk in with an attitude, chip on your shoulder, yeah, there's going to be negative people all the time, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to breathe that positivity and that happiness to people. You notice you say, and people say, God, I like that person. Why? Do they make you happy? Are there no like triggers that you like having to fight against them? What is it? So that's usually a great thing. You want to hang around people that make you feel good, that don't make you feel bad about yourself. And whatever weight you are, whatever. I used to say before I lost weight, the first thing that I'm going to be mad at if somebody says to me, because when I was the heaviest, to say, oh man, you look good. I like what you're wearing. So as soon as I lost 130 pounds, the first person that said to me, man, you look great. And I say, hey man, you lied to my face before when I was 358. Why? You lying to me. So is this the truth or are you still lying to me? You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
I mean that, but it affects you because it's you that they're talking about. There's nobody behind you. It's just you. So I think I wanted something that was going to alleviate the mood, make the mood lighter, and give you positivity that when you took it, you were going to get better and on the road to good health with consistency.
Love that, man.
Got to consistently show up and do it every day. Got to consistently think positive thoughts, show up every day, every hour. No matter how down, no matter how dark it gets, find it within yourself and your resolve to come up with some positive attitudes and affirms for yourself.
Absolutely. That's really important, man. And we're gonna end on this last question here, man. And this is an open one, right? So I just say, like, what is it? Is there anything you'd like to say to the tons of viewers right here about mental health and the importance of mental health in the Black community, or even just leave with some positive kind of words for folks?
Make sure you check in with yourself. Make sure you check in with doctors. Make sure you check in if you go to your church. Make sure you check in and make sure that your thoughts and what you're thinking is the right way. You want to get on the right wavelength, and shows like this, podcasts like this, FaceTime lives like this, all these self-help things are out there. If you just do the digging and Google, listen to DHANI, anywhere you hear me or any of the others talk, find those answers and solutions. Get as much of this knowledge and juice and wisdom as you can so that one of us makes you believe to take your mental health more seriously. And if you feel like you're in trouble, reach out to somebody that can help you. There's all sort of prevention hotlines. There's all sort of things that can just naturally help you if you don't have the money or going to doctors or whatever. But please get your mental health in order. Then you can get your gut health in order, which is what Unify Health Labs is all about, because the gut is the new wealth. Every disease that you have starts in your gut. Remember, it's what you put in, that's what goes out. So if you're putting nothing but bad food in all day, guess what? You're going to develop a lot of problems. And you may think that you won't, but you will. It may take some time, but you will. Trust me.
Absolutely. Dog.
Yo, fam.
I love that.
Yo.
I love that.
Dog pounders out there. They're holding it down, man. I see them dialing in, man. Y'all hold it down out there, man. Let's get some positivity going and help to save this world. We got to do our part.
Absolutely, my man. Absolutely. I appreciate it. And can I just end by saying, dude, you should have patented that. You should have, got a, whatchamacallit on that dog, DAWG.
Listen, it's for the people, man. It's for you and for the people, man.
That's what's up, man. Appreciate it, brother.
Sam. Thank you. Appreciate
Have a good one. Let's stay in touch, bro.
Definitely.
Take it easy, Manny. So that was dope, man. So that was real cool. So here's another brother that we're bringing in here. And what's really nice about this is we intentionally wanted to have different conversations with different types of folks, right? So clearly Randy is one guy. But then on the other side, we wanted to bring in an athlete because I think athletes deal with mental health on a different level as well.
Whoa!
My man, DHANI.
What's up?
What's good, man?
Hey, you know what? A lot of people are saying, hey, man, you don't look like that picture that we put out there. Everybody's saying, like, what happened to that guy? Okay, if I took the glasses off
Okay.
and I shaved the beard down,
Okay.
and I get rid of the gray,
Okay.
he's still there. Don't worry about it. He's still there.
I see it.
But this guy now needs his glasses. He's in quarantine.
No, man.
And yeah, I'm a little bit older, but I love that picture.
You look distinguished, man.
I appreciate that.
Yo, can I also, so I've been cutting my hair for like 20-something years, so I'm good. I got the tight edge up. I'm good to go.
Hey, you know what? I think maybe one of these days I'm going to cut it off. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it just might happen sooner than people think.
Okay. Okay.
One of my friends told me, you know, you got to let go. Sometimes you got to let go of stuff, right? One of the things that a lot of people, you know, people have this fear, right, of something happening. But what you don't realize is, like, when you remove that space, you never know what's on the other side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And that happens, you know, we're talking about mental health, right? You know, Randy was just talking about gut health. You know, I'm talking about something like my hair. All these things that you do in your life, you kind of go through them, you're kind of afraid, right? But then all of a sudden you have a conversation with yourself. You have you get to try some of Randy's product, Unified. He sent me that, the Unified Health Lab. That stuff, it works, by the way. I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
You know,
are you pitching me, man?
No, I'm not pitching you. I'm just telling you the truth. I'm just telling you the truth. You know,
I got you.
one of the other, you know, we don't talk in the community. Black people
we
don't talk about mental health. We don't talk about going to the doctor. You know, there's this fear that comes along with that, and so you don't do that. So I love supporting Randy and his product because that helps me, and that I know will help you, and it'll help all the rest of the people that are watching right now, the other people that will hear about stuff like that. Yeah. And it's important as a Black man in the Black community to be able to start those intimate dialogues. Like, intimacy between Black men is almost like a taboo word. You don't even talk about it like that.
Yeah.
You know, you'd rather be, like Randy was talking about, sitting around having some Louisiana best fried. Yeah. Right? You'd rather be kicking it, dog, and just like having a good time, or being in the locker room. Yeah. But you're not going to say, hey, how are you doing? Go one step further and say, when's the last time you went to the doctor? People will talk about the last time you went to go get a lineup. Yeah. But you won't talk about the last time you got checked.
That's true, man. That's true. That's true, man. And let's actually start there too, because you talked about the locker room, and clearly for the folks who don't know you, which is going to probably be maybe 0.2% of people on this live right now. You were ex NFL you were an NFL linebacker, right? Ended with the Bengals at the end of your career. But in the NFL world, there is like this hyper masculine culture, right? Like tough guys and everything, where players who suffer with mental health issues are often afraid to speak up or seek help, right? So you see this. I mean, I feel like we're starting to see this conversation bubble up now. Like, do you agree with that, or what's your experience with that?
It's
and we're not saying you're tattletaling on it.
No, I'm just saying it's a part of the sport.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's also a part of. I think it's been a part of the culture of men as well, not to be able to show weakness. Yeah. And anytime you speak up or speak out about having some level of inefficiency or some weakness, then therefore you are not a man. And I think that over the last couple of years, maybe the last 10, 20 years, people are now starting to sort of express and reach into their own emotions about the things that they're dealing with, let alone being a Black man in this world and be able to talk about the things that they're going through. But as a person in the sports world, it's an area like you're talking about where that conversation is cultivated, because people look at each other and they say, is there something? You know, you don't go down that route. Yeah. Right. Because that also in some way, shape or form, that might be someone's edge. Yeah. Right. They always say they're a little bit crazy, but they don't say like why they might be crazy. Yeah. So, and that's just something that I think now people are starting to talk more about, right? Yeah. You know, you can talk about mental health, you can talk about physical health. I mean, the amount of concussions that people have had over time. I can remember when I've had concussions that I don't want to come to the sideline and tell anybody that I've had a concussion, right? Because I feel like I, as a man, number one, like I can get through this. Yeah. Right. Number two, I've got to be able to provide. So I don't want to lose my job.
Yeah.
Right. And I think number 3, I don't want somebody else to have edge over me. Right. So these are 3 very, very complicated pieces of a really intricate puzzle that make up the ability to have that aggression on the field. And so unraveling that will take time.
Yeah.
And so unraveling that in the locker room will also take a moment. It won't happen overnight.
Yeah.
But people need to know that mental health is important. And for you to actually be a better player is to actually have better mental health.
That's amazing that you said that, man. And I think it's powerful because to your point earlier, like we don't, like Black people, we don't talk about our problems like that. Like it's this covered up kind of secret that like that never just comes out of fear, I think, at least, of like looking weak, right? And not looking strong. So can I ask, I'm just gonna ask a personal question. Like I know I've been, and I was talking to Randy about this. I'm not asking your clothes size or anything like that, man, but personal, but like I've dealt with
Are you sending me clothes? Hey, I'm just letting you know. XL.
Okay.
Until it just breaks out of my clothes, I'm wearing XL. Like, I will never get past the XL. I will never go to double XL.
I feel you, man. But I felt like this. I've had moments over the past couple of weeks where I felt like heavy, like shit, like damn. And I thought for me it was difficult because I felt I was doing a lot of live streams and talking about what's going on. I was talking to coworkers. I was talking to my agency. And I didn't have a time for myself to really digest it all, right? So like mentally, I felt like I was just going through a lot of shit, like until I had a moment where I actually sat down at dinner and just talked about it with my wife, right? And we just talked about it, and it was hard, but it felt good coming out. Have you? I mean, how your mental health over the past few weeks since this going on happened? And not to diminish like this never happened before, because every year we're having this conversation, right?
Yeah.
But how have you kind of mentally been dealing with some of this stuff?
Well, I'll tell you. I'll give you a couple of things. Number 1, I've been on the road since I was 18. Okay. So that's number 1, right? You play football in college, and you play football professionally, and you travel with television and business. Like I've been on the road a long time. So the first thing that I dealt with was being at home. Right? That's the first thing. Okay, so I had to get comfortable with that environment. I would say I worked well through that because I started to realize that there's a lot of things at home that I never really noticed. There's a lot of rooms that I never went in. There's a lot of conversations that I never had, because I was always moving so fast.
Yeah.
And so in a lot of ways, I appreciate the fact that I'm at home.
Yeah.
2, in terms of physically, I will tell you, I am probably up 20 pounds since football.
Yeah.
Right. And you want to attribute that to stress. You want to attribute that towards the extra piece of pie just because it tastes good, or you want to attribute that
Louisiana chicken
towards exactly, or towards not working out.
Yeah.
Right. And so after I figured out how to be home, then I realized, oh, it's my time to get back into the shape that I was before. Now I've probably lost 10 pounds since being in quarantine, because I'm on Instagram all the time, and sometimes I get deep into these channels and just like start reading about different things. And one of the Instagram channels that I follow is like, it's a motivational channel, and it just basically talked about, the world is going to be a lot different when we go back to work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you better be different too.
Yeah.
You better get yourself back to where you want to be. You better find the time now in order to be the better you that you were before, so that when you go into this world, you're not wearing extra large, you're wearing possibly large.
Yeah.
You're not reading one book, you're reading 10 books, right? Yeah. You can either utilize this time to accelerate yourself, or you can make excuses and find comfort in deceleration. And I have no plans on that. Yeah. Right. So every morning, not every morning, but Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I have a group of friends and we work out. We do the 52 card workout. And come hell or high water, I'm going to do that workout. Now, some days I definitely don't want to do it. And other days they probably get upset because I'm too excited about doing it. Right. And the 52 card workout, that's Ray Lewis's workout.
Yeah.
Right? And it's actually 54 cards because you add 2 jokers, of which you do 52 push-ups, and each of the suits is a different exercise. So like spades, you do lunges, and hearts, you do squats, and
Gotcha.
clubs, you do jumping jacks, and diamonds, you do V-ups, right?
I'm
And
not joining y'all for that.
you do all the cards.
Right.
Every single one of the cards. And, you know, we decide whether we want to add weights to it or we want to, you know, do different things just to spice it up, right? Add burpees, or at the very end, my favorite is we do planks, right? So it's also, so getting comfortable at home, finding your niche and working out. And in that, it's also building the community of people to take care of you.
Yeah.
Right. And then the last piece in that mental health is the fact of getting your mind clear.
Yeah.
And so journaling, having conversations, unloading and unpacking the weight that I as a person, I as an athlete, I as a Black man going through the world in which we are today, unpacking that. That's part of like the biggest issue within our community. We like, it's not even just talking. We don't want to feel weak where we want to unpack that weight, right? We feel as though, you know, we can carry the burden. Yeah. But why don't we distribute the burden to those that we know that care about us? Get past the fear that someone's trying to, you know, take advantage of us, and realize that there are amazing people out there that care about us.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, I love that, man. I love that. And I could say too, you are real about what you're saying too, because in the time that we've known each other, man, like you have been someone that I could reach out to quickly, and it's like you're a helpful person, you're a connector, and I could appreciate that about you, man.
Hey, you know what? If I can help, you know, that's I've always maintained that. And this is, you know, shout out to anybody that's University of Michigan. And my sister's on there, and my friend Polly, and a couple other people on there. So I just want to say hello. Thanks you for your support. But the University of Michigan, my coach, you know, come to sports. My coach Lloyd Carr always says, "It's not about you; it's about something greater than yourself." And I've always maintained that.
That's amazing.
And so, you know, I always say, you know, I don't have to do everything by myself, but and if I can't do it, then I'm going to find someone else. And if I can give them a leg up, then I'm going to use everything in my power to reach as high as I possibly can to throw them over the fence.
Absolutely. That's amazing, man. I appreciate that. The brutality that we're all repeatedly seeing now, like over and over, witnessing, can be especially traumatizing for us Black men, I think, right? And Black women too. But how has this affected you personally, right? And how does this wear on your mental health?
Yeah. Yeah. I would say on one side, and we talked about this a couple days ago.
Right.
You know, I'm 42. I've seen this since I was younger. Right. Technology has brought it to the forefront where now the world can see it.
Yeah.
So there's a certain level of, you know, heightened emotions that are now starting to come and bubble to the top, if you will. So I would say in some ways I'm working through it, and in other ways I know what I must do in order to be the best ladder, support, confidant to those, so that we can all move through this together. And so, you know, I'm a father, you know, of a son, and so I that part really affects me, because I think back what I went through, and I don't want my son to go through that.
Yeah.
But I did see another amazing post. I told you I'm on Instagram all the time, and I saw a Black father and a Black son, and the son was on his shoulders, and the entire group of people that were protesting pointed towards the son and said, you know, you matter. Yeah. And I thought that was beautiful.
Yeah.
And so as Randy has talked about it, and as you and I talked about it on Ryan's on Ryan's Zoom chat that he has with so many different people. Ryan Berman, he's a great guy. You know, this is a different moment in time.
Yeah.
and it isn't what it has been, because there are so many other pieces that have now, hit this fever pitch.
Yep.
And this catalyst, you could call this excitement, if you will, this match, I would say not excitement, but this ignited moment in time.
Yeah.
Is probably the brightest blaze that it's ever been.
Yeah.
And there are so many people, including those in your industry. WPP just said that they're going to commit $30 million.
Yeah.
Right. You talk about PayPal. They're committing, quarter of a billion, maybe $500 million. Goldman Sachs, the CEO, wrote that open letter. There's some things that are happening in the investment world where people are reaching out to different endowments. So that's on the financial side, and on the leadership side, within politics, the tables are starting to turn. Obama talked about it. It's the frontline protesters, but it's also the follow-up that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're having a discussion in a quiet room of amazing people that are listening. People are calling me, calling you, saying, "Hey, how are you doing?"
Yeah.
Now it's our chance to be able to tell those, or whomever they might be, how we're doing. And the most amazing follow-up question that everybody has said is like, "How can I help?"
Yeah.
And it's not for us to push back and say, "You know what? It's about time you called me, and I'm upset you didn't call me before." But it's to say, "Thank you for calling me. Now here are some other things." And Randy was talking about as well. Getting out and vote. Advocating on behalf of others. Taking care of yourself, making sure you're able to get to the right mind, body, and soul in order to be present not only now but also into the future.
Indeed, man. I got a couple minutes left.
Am I going all over the place?
No, you're good,
am I talking too much?
No, we're good. You and I, we can go all night long. I want to ask one more question, man, before a couple minutes we're going to split and go over to Dr. Evans. Is there anything I want to ask, same way I did with Randy? Is there anything you'd like to kind of leave this conversation with, or to the folks that are actually watching, most importantly, the Black people that are watching, about mental health and the importance of it?
Yeah. So I would say this. I don't know if you saw some of the Instagram lives I was doing with Stand Together, and we were raising a lot of money with hashtag Give Together Now. We raised $61 million for those financially affected due to COVID-19. And I got to interview Randy, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Love talking to him. I also got to interview, so many others, but NQ, who's a poet, the one thing he said was, in one of his poems, he talks about how we're going through it.
Yeah.
And what he was referencing is like how when you go through it, you're going through you.
Yeah.
And so my message to everybody else, or to everybody out there, is when you go through you and you find all these new aspects of your life, and you find all these nuances that you may not have ever seen, or you find all these different emotions, or you find this sort of psychological response, it's okay to ask someone else for help to understand what it means.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because someone has gone through it before, and others will go through it in the future.
Yeah.
And right now, we're the ones that are affected. And it takes the community to work through the chaos to identify the solution.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I love that. Well, look, thank you for your time tonight, man. As I always tell you, man.
What? Come on, man. Let's go.
Look, we can go back around. You later.
You need the doctor to jump on, because he can tell you all the technical terms and things like that. And maybe next time you'll see me, I won't have this beard and I'll look like that picture that we used to let everybody know we were doing this. And maybe, what does that look like?
Looks good, man. It's a good look.
What do you think?
I think you can do it, man.
All right, well,
I'll hit you, man. I'll hit you later, bro.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, man. Thanks again, man. Good people, man. Good people. So now we're gonna actually get onto the medical side of this, and I think this part of the conversation is so important. And it is important because I think we need to understand really quickly what mental health is. So right now we actually have joining us Dr. Arthur Evans. He is the CEO of the American Psychological Association. Dr. Evans, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So let's start from the bottom, because I think when we talk about mental health, there's this confusion of what it is, which then leads to, well, I don't want to really say I have a problem like that. Can you explain for the viewers, like, what is mental health?
Well, mental health is just, we're a whole body, and over time in Western world, we separated the body, the head from the rest of the body. But, mental health is just being well, having church folk might say being in my right mind, or being able to think clearly, being able to function in our daily lives. So mental health is just about having that peace of mind, that ability to get through all of the things we have to do as people.
Yeah, that's important that you said that as well. I'm going to kind of come off some of the conversation that we were just having just now with DHANI. He had mentioned earlier on the conversation that traditionally, like Black people, we are reluctant to admit that we are suffering with mental health issues. Why do you, being on the medical side, why do you think that is the case?
Well, I think that, first of all groups have some stigma around mental health, but I think in the Black community, we think about mental health and having mental health challenges as being a weakness. One of the big problems I think we have is that we look at mental health as a category of people. And I'm going to use a term that I would never use in my professional life. We don't want to be in that category of crazy people, right? And so, if I'm just being real, that's how we view it. And the reality is that mental health is on a continuum. You can have really good mental health all the way to really bad mental health where you have a diagnosis. And all of us are on that continuum at some point, and which means some level of mental health. And most of us go up and down that continuum. So there's some times in our lives when we're having a lot of stress. We might have had a loss, death in our family, might have lost our job, where we're further up the continuum where we're experiencing a lot of distress. And then other times we might be down it. The important point is to recognize that all of us are dealing with mental health issues. I think another problem in our community is that sometimes we look at mental health as a issue of faith. I'm a part of a faith community. I've heard people say things like, honey, you just need to pray more, or you just need to have more faith. And we don't really say that about people who have cardiovascular problems. So if you have a heart attack, nobody says, brother, you just need to pray more. You wouldn't have those heart attacks.
Yeah.
Right? We don't say that. So we treat our mind differently than we treat the rest of our body. And I think one of the things we have to do in our community is start understanding that and really dealing with our mental health in the same way that we deal with our physical health.
Well, that brings up a good point. So how does mental suffering impact other aspects of our health?
That is such a good question. And if you look at what happens to us when we have a mental health challenge, when we're further up that continuum, we may not have a mental health diagnosis, but we're just under a lot of stress. It affects our ability to be a parent. It affects our ability to do our work. It affects children's ability to do well in school. You know what one of the biggest predictors of how well children will do in school is whether they have a social and emotional problem. If you look at the juvenile justice system, disproportionately the kids who are in that system, the Black kids who are in that system, have mental health challenges, which means that when African American children have mental health challenges, they're more likely to the system as opposed to being in the mental health system where they can get help for their problems. So we really have to understand the impact and the seriousness of having mental health challenges, because they impact every aspect of our life. And if we want to function well, in whatever, as a husband, as a wife, as a parent, we really have to be in our best mental state.
Well, that's a good point. So, what would you say is the cumulative impact on mental health of all the racial injustice that Black Americans are currently experiencing? And have you seen yourself a significant increase in the amount of people coming to you guys about these problems and patients you're seeing?
Well, I don't see people anymore, but
Okay.
when I did, I have a lot of friends who continue to see people, and they say there are more people who are experiencing stress and coming in. But the American Psychological Association, we describe racism as a pandemic. And we described it that way because if you look at the coronavirus pandemic, racism is just like that. It's everywhere. It is impacting on every aspect of our life. It will make you sick, and if we're not careful, it will kill you. And that lines up exactly with racism. And every day, Black folks have to put on that PPE, that personal protective equipment. Everybody's talking about the gowns and stuff. Well, we have to do that every day, right? When you walk out the door, you have to think about what you're wearing, how you're speaking. You have to code switch. You know what code switching is?
Oh yeah.
In one group you can talk one way, in another group you have to talk a different way.
It's real.
Yeah, you have parents who are telling their children don't wear a hoodie because they're trying to protect them. So we have all of these things that we have to do to just be in the world. And then we had the pandemic. And when we had the pandemic, which affected everybody, then we found out that, Black folks are disproportionately impacted by it. We're dying at a higher rate within the pandemic. Then we found out we have an economic crisis, which affected everybody. But then we found out that, Black people are disproportionately impacted. And then after all of that, we found out that, we didn't find out, but we were reminded that no matter how much PPE we have on, you could be in your bed and you can still get shot. Yep. You can be jogging and some vigilantes can chase you down and kill you. You can be sleeping in your car and you can be shot. So we have all of these things, and there's some interesting research that shows that whenever these things happen in our community, that it has an impact on the mental health of the community. And that even if we were not directly involved, it has an impact on our mental health. So I think it's really important. The question you're asking is a really good one. These things do have a cumulative impact, and we just have to be aware that these things cause stress for all of us.
Can you tell me, one thing I continuously kind of think back on is the effect that this has on Black children right now. Because I know that when I first saw the video on TV of Rodney King, I believe I was, I might have been like 16, 17, something like that, and it was shocking, right? And then I saw, as in college, Amadou Diallo get shot 41 times in his front door, reaching for it, and then that was shocking, right? And it brings back, which is why I feel like all the stuff that happened in the past couple of weeks have brought back this onload of emotions all at once. It just makes you feel like you're carrying a lot. So, but how do you feel Black children are now being affected by mental health?
Well, they are absolutely being affected. One of the things the technical term that we use in the field is vicarious trauma. And all that means is that you don't have to be directly affected to experience trauma. Things that parents can do is really limit the amount of time that their children are viewing these things. Unfortunately, we have a 24-hour news cycle, and you see the loops over and over again. I've been grown for a long time. I'm going to have to tell you how long, but a long time. It affects me. It's hard. I have one of the things I've been really conscious of lately is how much I am consciously deciding not to watch TV.
Yeah. And
I'm consciously deciding not to watch TV because I know how it's affecting me. I know how it's impacting me. And if it's impacting us, it's impacting children. And the thing is that children don't have the experiences that we have where we can try to put things in perspective, or we can think about how we can use our voice and try to change these things. They're just watching people that look like them get murdered and killed in very innocent types of situations. So it absolutely has an impact, and we have to be aware of that. And I think it's really important for parents to really monitor and control how much of that stuff their kids watch.
Yeah, it's sad because like even the past few days I've been seeing videos, like one video I saw of a young black kid that might have been no older than like 8 or 9 playing basketball outside of his house.
Oh, I just
Cop
saw
car
that.
coming up. Yeah, cop car comes up the street and he hid behind the car until it passed. Or the young black girl who's maybe same age, 8 or 9, standing on the side of the road, police officer comes by and she raised her hand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is having a toll on us that is, and also because we're in this pandemic and stuck at home, where we see this on repeat, like you were saying, and it's doing something different. I think it's horrific to be honest with you.
It is, and that really worries me and it bothers me. My kids are adults now, but I have some grandkids, and I worry about. I have 2 grandsons, and I just worry. Like, how are they dressed? And one of the things we know from research is that black kids are better than they actually are, and that's one of the things that happens to our young adolescents and children. They get treated as if they are young adults when they are still children. So they have all of these issues that they're dealing with, and it's important for us to be able to talk to them about what's going on, check in with them, see how they're responding to it. A lot of times as parents, we may not even know how they're thinking about these things or perceiving these things. So it's really important to have those conversations and reassure them that as parents and as adults, we're going to do everything we can to protect them and make sure that they're safe. And we can't assume that they know that, and we can't assume that they understand that. We have to tell them that.
That's great. That's great advice. So let me ask, this stream, Instagram ends after 60 minutes. It cuts off and you have to restart again. So I want to ask you one question. And then if you have time, I would love to hop off here. We'll jump back on this live again and allow the audience, because I think there's a lot of people that would love to ask a medical expert like yourself questions. So folks, you can actually chime back in and ask those questions. How can we encourage Black Americans to seek help when they need it? DHANI was just talking about this earlier, and I think that's an important point. Like, how do we get people to say, it's okay?
Yeah, that is such a good question. I'm so glad you're asking that, because, we have to be able to ask for help. Having a mental health challenge that is getting in the way of you being a good dad or a good husband or whatever is not a sign of weakness. That's the first thing. And, when, I use the example of having a heart attack. When we have a heart attack, we don't go into self-help mode and try to fix it ourselves. We go to a professional, because we recognize if you have a problem that serious, you need to go to a professional. My wife doesn't let me fix stuff in my house because she knows I can't, that's not my thing. Now, you don't know what you're doing. Go get somebody who knows how to fix it and fix it right.
Hey, I'm with you.
Exactly. So same thing applies to mental health. Sometimes they're just issues that are beyond what we can do ourselves. And people train. I trained for 13 years, post school. So we know a little bit about how to handle some of these things. And so it's really important for people to reach out for help. One thing that I think is really important, I've been doing a number of these, and one of the things that comes up quite a bit is, I want to go see a Black therapist. I want to go and someone who understands me. And I completely understand that. When I was in practice, people would come to me and I would, and one of the things that they would say is like, I'm just so glad to be able to talk to you because there's a whole layer of things I don't have to explain. But the reality is that there are not enough African-American therapists in the country to do one-on-one with all of the African-Americans who need help. And it is often more important to go out and get that help, even if you can't speak to someone from our community, because it's important for us to not suffer in silence around these things. But when you go, ask questions. If your problem, I was listening to Randy Jackson earlier, and he was talking about the relationship between his mental health and his weight. So if that's the issue that you're seeking help for, go to a person who's a specialist in psychology, we call them clinical health psychologists.
Yep.
Someone who specializes in that. If what you're dealing with is trauma because you saw someone get killed in your community, ask the question, are you trained in how to deal with trauma? So you have to do a little bit of digging, be an informed consumer, but make sure that you're going out and getting help and making sure you're dealing with those issues.
Yeah. So this is what we're going to do. We have another 2 minutes left before this is just going to automatically kick us off. I would, if you're up to it, because we've wrapped now. If you're up to it, I'd love to do another live and then start another live and have these folks come back for anyone who might have to want to ask some questions, and maybe just like another 15 minutes, like a Q&A. Are you okay with that?
Absolutely. I'd love to do that.
And I guess I'll give you, as we got like another 3 minutes left, is there any last kind of feedback you'd want to give to folks that are watching now in terms of the importance of mental health in the Black community?
I think the most important thing for folks to understand is that these issues get in the way of our ability to carry out our functions, whether it's, fatherhood, marriage, work, whatever it is. And so it's really important to deal with those issues. I think that, and my experience in working with people, sometimes we think that dealing with mental health issues is a bit of a luxury, that we don't really deserve to do that. If I have a physical problem, I'll go take care of that. But mental health, that's kind of a luxury kind of thing. It is not, and it's important for us to be able to reach out for help. And if you won't do it for yourself, do it for your family, or do it for your community, or do it for the broader society. God knows that right now we are in the struggle of our life as a community. We need every single person in the best health that they can. And if you don't want to do it for yourself, do it for everyone else, the generations to come. Make sure that you are in the best shape that you can. If you have to get off the battlefield for a little while, get yourself together and come back, do that, because we need every single person to be a part of the fight.
That's important, man. And I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.